If you're working with Notion, then you will most likely have come across Notion databases at some point. And I know from my experience that when I first started using Notion, I was a bit afraid of using Notion databases because I thought they were a bit too complicated. I didn't really know what they would be useful for and why I could just not use normal text and pages. But this is exactly why I'm doing this video. Today I want to actually show you all the different views in Notion, all the different database views, and what you can do with them, so that you get a better understanding of why you would be using them in the first place and which database view to choose for your specific purpose. Alright, let's get right into the video. So first of all, we have the table view. And this is the most basic view. This is also the default view, and it's really useful for data that has to be in a pretty rigorous structure. So if you have a database where you have lots and lots of inputs and lots of different properties, then you would use the table view. This is what it looks like in its most basic version. You can just use it like a normal table. The name property is the thing that you can't change. So this is how you name your different database entries, and then you can have all these different database properties across this side. Now this is how I, for example, use this. So I have this big tools and software database, and you notice these are in German, so don't worry too much about the individual entries, but just to show you the concept. So we have the name and we have all these different properties, and I can scroll across like this. And this is really useful if I have to see all these different tags. So, you know, if I want to change something in here, if I'm working on a database, usually always when I'm setting up a database, I always start in the table view because it's just the easiest to work with. So yeah, it's good for structured content and if you want to set up your databases. Another use case would be for things where you need to calculate a lot. So if you want to track your revenue, for example, or in my case, I have my grades here. It's not really filled with that many entries right now because it's just the start of the semester. But what it does pretty much is you have a grade, then you have a weight, and then it gives you the weighted grade and puts it into the sum. And at the end of the semester, I can see what grades I got in the different classes. So I think you get the idea of how you could use these table databases. All right, next we have the calendar view, and yeah, this is pretty much self-explanatory. It's just a basic calendar. You could use it to track different meetings or different things on your schedule. You could use it for a content calendar, for example. This is how I use it, so I'll show you this in a bit. What you just have to know is that you can always choose between these database views. So if you haven't noticed that yet or don't know that yet, you can use the same data inside different views. So if you use a date property somewhere in your database, it will show up as this date here in the calendar. And here we have an example of this. So this is my content plan, content calendar. And you see all of these different videos that I want to be publishing. Today is the 16th of December, so this is always marked in red. And I see all these different entries. I could add in a new one right here if I wanted to. And you see it will show up like this, but this is not something I want to do right now, so let's delete this again, and it takes some time, but yeah, this is how we would use the calendar view. Next we have the board view, which is really useful for managing projects, for example. So it's pretty much like a Trello board, like a Kanban board, where you can like drag these different projects or tasks, like in this case, around, and yeah, rearrange them in whatever order you like. Again, it's really useful for project management, and I also really like to use it for my online courses, which I'll show you right now. So here you're seeing the course structure of my Notion 101 course that's on Udemy and Skillshare. You can check it out if you want to. Don't want to be advertising that right now, but yeah. This is the view for that, and it's also in this Kanban board form. And as this is not a project where you want to drag one task from like the left to the right, I've used this to split it into the different sections of the course. So I can like put my the videos in my course into different subcategories and structure my course better. And this gives me a neat overview of all the content that's included. and yeah, just helps me stay organized with producing these courses. I'm also using the board view as a project board. So right here I have the different areas of my life, and then I have these different projects that are assigned to them with the corresponding timelines, so the corresponding time I want to complete them in, which we'll get to later in the timeline view as well. Next up we have the list view, and this is the most minimalistic view in Notion. It really consists just of a list of different pages or entries in your database, and let's say we want to add this page 4 as well. And you see this is just a basic list. It's really minimalistic, really clean, so it's nice if you don't have to work with lots of properties in this database or in this view. And this could be nice to implement, for example, a to-do list, if that's something that you're interested in. And I, for example, use this to have my notes database organized. You can see this right here. So I just have this notes database. I have some different kinds of notes. So I have one for books, one for quick notes, and yeah, I can just add in new notes right here. I want this to be as simple as possible so that I really have no friction of adding in these new tasks or new notes in this case. So this is a great use case for this database. The gallery view is also a view that I really like to use. It's best in use for visual things, also for things that you want to look nice. You can't really see this in the example because there's no images here, so we'll directly jump to a database where I use this kind of view. Alright, so here we are in my web design inspiration database. And as you see, this is where this view really shines, because it can display the images that are added in from the pages. So in these cases, it's just loaded in automatically because I pasted that in using the web clipper. And then these will show up as like these thumbnails in this database. So it's really great for these visual things, like in this case, the web design inspiration. If I want to go in here, I want to look for websites that are inspiring, or if you want to have a certain look for a website that I'm designing, then I can just have a quick look at all of the thumbnails here, and I see what kind of vibe they give off, and then I can look at the individual page and check it out. So it's really great for these kinds of use cases. Also for example, if you have a food database, that's great for that. I also use it for my books database. So there's lots and lots of use cases. This is one of the database views that I use most often. Lastly, we also have the timeline view, which was just recently added by Notion. And this is pretty much a, what it says, it's a timeline. So you can drag these different pages in your database. You can drag them around in this timeline view, and you can also scroll from left to right to see, for example, what's coming up. So again, this is something I use for my project management, which I'll show you right now. And these kind of dates will be set based on a date property. And this only works if the date has a end date in it. So if you set up things for this database, this property will also automatically be added. Now, as you see, we're now back in my projects database, and I have this board view for it, which I showed you earlier as well. But now let's check out the timeline view. And now you see how this compares to each other. So this is great because I then can see like in which time span I'm doing which projects. And you see, you can like scroll through here, and it will show you like you'll see these due dates appear at the side, and it's great to like sketch out your next couple of days or months. And to see kind of what you have to do when you will be working on which projects and so on. Or at least that's what I use it for. Alright, that's it already for this video on Notion database views. I hope you got a little bit better understanding of how these different database views work and what you would be using them for. Again, it really comes down to your personal preferences. My choices don't have to be your choices. So just experiment with the different views and see what works best for you. And maybe let me know what your favorite database view is, or what database views you actually use the most often down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, also consider subscribing to the channel. And besides from that, I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.